How do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator. Bad joke, sorry. Let's go through fast specification, prices and options. The Canon 700D comes with a CMOS sensor, 18 megapixel, just like the little brother Canon 100D. That means a crop sensor with a ratio of 1.6. It can shoot 5 frames per second, and improved from 4 frames per second, and is starting to get closer to the bigger brother Canon 70D. It comes with a built-in flash, shutter speed between 30 seconds and 4 thousandths of a second, ISO between 100 and 12,800, 9 autofocus points, which is exactly like the Canon 1200D and 100D, but not as good as in the impressive focusing system of the Canon 70D, but that's a subject to a different video. It can come with a kit lens or just the body, and it costs somewhere between 400, 500, 600 mark, depends where you buy it and which country are you in, and if you buy it with a lens or not. It can shoot full HD video 1080p at 25 frames per second and 720p. This one can do 50 frames per second. In regards to physical features, dials and the back LCD screen, let's look at this camera. This is a step up in size and weight from the 100D and 1200D, but much lighter than the 70D. It weighs half a kilo with no lens. It's about 525 grams. The top dial to select the shooting mode is on the right hand side, just like the 100D. It comes with all the options like the smaller brothers. In addition, with the automatic, time priority mode, aperture priority, manual and bulb, it offers the beginners the sports mode, macro, landscape, portrait and creative mode, useless for people who are a bit advanced and a little bit helpful for the beginners. On and off button on top, typical Canon main dial to go through the settings, shutter button in the same position like all the Canon cameras above the grip on the right hand side. We have a back button slightly different, the AV button combined with the exposure compensation and multiple functions, quick select button, directional menus with white balance, autofocus shooting mode and picture style. Also menu button and info on top. The good news which made me excited is that this comes with a flip out screen just like the Canon 70D, which is extremely useful in my opinion for shooting photos and videos in difficult positions. Also note this is a touch screen, which is a very nice feature. It can come with very handy features, including the touch screen shutter trigger for situation where you don't want to press the button because the camera will shake. I'm getting used to this touch screen shutter and I'm starting to like it. The lens release and pop-up flash are the same with the other cameras, and just to note, there are mini microphone and the speaker on top of the pop-up flash. In regards to the menus and settings, the menus and settings are typical for the Canon users. Vertical tabs from left to right, and as expected more features than the lower value cameras and less features than the more expensive cameras, which makes perfect sense. 3 tabs with a multitude of settings for exposure, 1 tab dedicated to shooting settings, 2 tabs for the image organization and 3 tabs for the camera settings that have nothing to do with the final result or the exposure, and the custom tab for you to customize your own setting. Quickly, tab 1, image quality, beep function for the menu, release shutter button, image review, lens aberration correction, that should be on all the time, red eye reduction, again to be on at all times, and flash control, which will control all settings of the built-in flash or external flash, and if you have a compatible external flash you can control that wirelessly. That's a very nice feature if you ask me. Tab number 2 comes with the exposure compensation, light optimizer, custom white balance bracketing, color space, picture style and metering mode. Tab number 3, we have dust delete data, which is for situation when you have stubborn dust on your sensor. ISO settings, long exposure reduction and high ISO speed noise reduction. Tab number 4 comes with the live view shooting mode, autofocus method, continuous autofocus settings, touch shutter, which can be very useful. Grid display, aspect ratios and metering timer. Tabs 5 and 6 are for reviewing and organizing images already taken. Tab 7 is for files and folder organization in the camera memory. Tab 8 is for LCD settings, date and time, language. Tab 9 is for the LCD features, and Tab 10 is for general stuff. Here we can mention that the custom functions CFN are part of this tab, and in the bigger brothers this comes with its own dedicated tab, so Canon just save some space here. And the last tab is for you to make your own customized menu. The general menus come with more features than the 1200D and less than 70D as expected, and this is what you pay for. This is the justification of the price because the final results are almost the same in terms of quality, and I will demonstrate that through the test further in the video. In regards to video settings, we have a few good options: 1920 by 1080 at 25 frames per second or 24 frames per second, 1280 by 720 at 50 frames per second. But check this out, I cannot shoot 1280 by 720 at 24 frames per second. So that's a downside. Also, the last option is 640 by 480 at 24 frames per second, and that's about it. Very disappointing from someone coming from the 70D video shooting with a lot of features. I see a lot of limitations with the 700D, but I guess you can't have all of them. But if you're not very fussed about it, this should be more than enough in a normal condition for someone who is not a professional and takes the occasional footage. Still, the quality, I'm pretty sure, will be the same, but we'll test that in a second. Now it's time for the photo test. Our standard test with all the cameras will be the dummy head with the flash in manual mode, remotely trigger. I think you're already used to this creepy dummy head, but it serves the purpose. We are going to use one lens, 24 to 70 L series, so we can have a benchmark of sharpness and compare apples with apples. So we're gonna compare the 700D against the 70D, and I'll bring the 5D Mark II into the mix because I have it. That's my camera, I'm still using it, and that's a full frame sensor, and I just wanted to make a comparison. You will see the sharpness difference and you will see the quality difference. However, the 5D Mark II, because it's quite old, gives me a different result, and I'm a bit surprised. All these cameras will have exactly the same settings, 1/25 of a second, f aperture f16, ISO 100, white balance as flash. So remember, I'm testing the same white balance and the landscape mode. So the results should be the same, but this is difference between sensors, and the 5D Mark II is a pretty old sensor. I am curious how the 5D Mark III will act, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that as well. Let's go through the pros, why you should buy this camera. First of all, the quality is there, the result will be the same as the bigger brother or the smaller brother. The best feature I love this is the quality flip out touch screen. This will allow you to shoot photos and videos in difficult positions. It does come with 5 frames per second, and that beats the hell out of my 5D Mark II, which comes with 3.9 frames per second. And this is much better. Image and video quality are outstanding, and you can probably expect from all Canon products. It does have a low price for people who can afford a few $100s. And very interesting, it does have the auto tracking focus in video mode, exactly like the 70D. Not fast as the other one, but still a very good feature to have. This is in fact a big reason for me to love this camera, because you can shoot video and the camera will follow the subject. Let's go through the cons why you shouldn't buy this camera. First of all, there's no battery display, and for me it's very annoying because I always like to know how much power I still have in my battery and how the battery performs. The video settings are not as many options as the Canon 70D, and there's no sound display for shooting video, so you can find yourself shooting for a long time, and if you miss something you don't know, you spend the time and there's no sound recorded. It did happen to me and it's very frustrating. You have less options than the Canon 70D, still okay. And the focus and the tracking of the focus in video mode, they are quite slow. They are slower than the 70D, but this is not a deal breaker because this is not necessarily for the professional video makers. All these cons are actually, I want to become very picky and find some cons, but put them in the context, and there's not a lot of cons if you ask me. If you're interested to purchase this camera, I'm gonna leave a few links below where you can do some research, and you can find these online stores, but feel free to do your own research that will suit your location and budget. In conclusion, this is a great camera to have, not only for beginners but for people who are a little bit more than a beginner. It comes with features that rival the big boys, still a bit sloppy, but nevertheless a serious competitor with more serious out there. This is the first step towards high enthusiast photographers, and remember, the results will be the same if you know how to use it properly. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until I see you next time, I wish you happy shooting. Thank you very much. If you are a beginner photographer, you're still struggling with the basic concepts of photography or camera settings, I would like to extend the invitation for you to check out my book, Master Your Camera in 10 Easy Exercises, where you can actually learn in 10 days how to control your camera completely in manual mode and also understand all the basic concepts of photography. Check out the website. Remember to subscribe, see all the detailed instruction how you can get your copy today, and until I see you next time, I wish you happy shooting. Thank you very much.